Please rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome to RPtv. Today is Monday, February 24th, 2020. Our top story this morning concerns an amazing woman who has done some amazing things both on Earth and in space. Caitlin has that report.
Astronaut Mae Jemison became the first African-American woman to enter space when she served on the crew of the Space Shuttle Endeavour in September 1992. Jemison's life, however, is also full of terrestrial accomplishments. She was a high school graduate at the age of 16, and she attended Stanford University on a scholarship, graduating with a BS degree in engineering and having fulfilled the requirements for an AB in African and Afro-American Studies. After graduating from medical school in 1981, Jemison joined the Peace Corps, serving as its area medical officer from 1983 to 1985 in the West African countries of Sierra Leone and Liberia. After serving in NASA from 1987 to 1993, Jemison founded the Jemison Group Incorporation, which developed Alethea, a satellite-based telecommunications system intended to improve healthcare delivery in developing nations. She also was a professor in the Environmental Studies program at Dartmouth College, where she directed the Jemison Institute for Advancing Technology in Developing Countries.
We've heard a lot of stories about people participating in polar bear challenges, but this one may be the biggest one of all, as millions of dollars were raised this weekend. Barbie has the details.
8,000 plungers get freezing to raise over $2.3 million for NJ's Special Olympics. On Saturday, it looked like a summer day, but no one was sunbathing on the beach, as thousands of plungers took a dip in icy waters of the Atlantic Ocean in Seaside Heights. The water temperature was approximately 41 degrees. For the director of the marketing and communications for Special Olympics, New Jersey, Jeremy Davis, the weather for the 27th annual Polar Bear Plunge was near perfect, as he goes on to say, "There is no snow and it's not too warm or too cold." A group of plungers dressed in red and white striped suits cheered as they waited. Mike Van Houten had started the team 14 years ago, and it has grown from 5 to 40. Collectively, they raised more than $14,000 this year. Another team, named the Little Silver Crocs, led by the team captain Mike Leverty, has been highest fundraising team for past 17 years. This year was no different. It raised almost around $1,100,000. Leverty has been plunging for nearly 2 decades. Both of the teams raised over $2.3 million just for one reason: New Jersey Special Olympics.
Now it's time for announcements. Polka Club Black History Month celebration on Thursday, February 27th after school in the Media Center. Jeans for Teens. The FHCC, in collaboration with retailer Our Pastel, is collecting gently used jeans that will be distributed to homeless teens. Jeans are the one item most requested by homeless teenagers. Please drop off or send to the nurse's office by Friday, March 27th. Bowling Team Fundraiser. The bowling team is celebrating the end of their season with a merchandise sale. Please see any member of the bowling team or Mr. Fucci if you are interested in purchasing a t-shirt, hoodie, or a long sleeve shirt. Order forms can also be found on the school's website. Art Club and National Art Honor Society will be meeting Fridays after school in room 102 during the school year. We are working on projects and sometimes exploring new media. Join us. Also, Art Club and NAHS are collecting real or made-up recipes connecting to community, culture, or connections. These can be any size, handwritten, and decorated, and will be sent to a program associated with the Bezos Family Foundation. For every recipe submitted, $3 will be donated to organizations providing food to undernourished people around the world. Please help. See Mrs. Scutro for further information and supplies. Breakfast Program. Start your day the right way. Our school offers a breakfast program available in the cafeteria starting at 7:10 a.m. Full price is $1.85 and reduced is 30 cents. Breakfast has many benefits for our students. Take advantage of our breakfast program. On Saturday, Miranda Tavares scored 15 points to lead Roselle Park in a 25-24 win against Dover. Juliana Pierre and Anne Jemiah added 3 points in the win for Roselle Park. Once again, in the category of criminals who are now that smart, we have a story about an escape that went terribly wrong. Caitlin has that report.
In Dayton, Ohio, a prison security camera caught something truly bizarre. An inmate, Jessica Boomershine, falling through the ceiling, landing headfirst into a trash can. Jail security video shows Boomershine climbing up the holding room wall January 21st as other inmates watch, then moving out of sight. A few seconds later, parts of ceiling tiles fall onto the floor. Boomershine's legs then appear, and guards pull her down. She ends up head first in a trash can that then tips over. Boomershine was in jail on charges of kidnapping and robbing an 85-year-old Dayton area man last month, records show. She and a co-defendant broke into the man's home after meeting him at a casino, according to prosecutor Matt Heck. The pair took the man's gun, forced him to provide the code to his bank card, withdrew money from his account, placed him in the trunk of his car, and then abandoned the vehicle near a trash facility, the prosecutor's office said. The man escaped and was later found inside the trash facility.
Stay tuned, we will be right back. Thanks for watching RPtv. Have a great day and stay tuned for CNN 10.
Hey everyone, I'm Carl Azus, and this is CNN 10. It's the last week of February in 2020, and though today's show starts with a report on a virus, it's not the new coronavirus that's been so much in the news lately. This report is on the old-fashioned flu, and overall, it's been much worse than the coronavirus. There have been at least 29 million flu cases in America since the flu season got going in late September. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control says the virus has been widespread in every region of the country, and as of last week, 48 states and the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico all reported high levels of flu activity. The numbers are closely watched because health officials are trying to get a sense of when the season will taper off. There are some signs it could be starting to slow down. Office visits related to flu-like symptoms and people who've tested positively for the flu both decreased a little bit in mid-February as opposed to early February. It's been an especially bad flu season for children, though most of those who've died from the flu are elderly. What about the vaccine? The latest numbers from the CDC haven't been finalized yet, but they indicated that this year's flu vaccine has been about 45% effective overall in preventing doctor visits for the flu. The CDC says the vaccine is typically between 40 and 60% effective at that. So while doctors continue to recommend that people get the vaccine, they admit it's not perfect.
When public health officials describe this flu season so far, they're describing it as having started early as in September as opposed to typically in October, and also being particularly hard on kids. You know, we've been talking a lot about the coronavirus this year, but let me show you flu numbers so far this flu season. In the United States alone, some 29 million illnesses, 280,000 hospitalizations, and 16,000 deaths. Now, when you look at that hospitalization number, the most hospitalizations occur in people who are 65 and older, but the next biggest category is newborns to 4 years old. So, you know, this flu can be particularly hard on kids, and this year so far has been the worst year for kids. If you take out 2009, which was the H1N1 flu pandemic, this now becomes one of the worst years on record for kids with regard to the flu. I want to show you again just quickly looking at flu numbers here, which I just shared with you, and coronavirus, again, because we've been talking about coronavirus so much. On the left, those are U.S. numbers. On the right are global numbers for coronavirus. And you can see, obviously, flu does cause a lot more illness and a lot more death in the United States and around the world. The reason there continues to be such concern about coronavirus is because it is a new virus, and whenever you have a new virus, you're not exactly sure how it's going to behave, how it's going to trend, or if it's going to continue to mutate. So those are things that researchers are keeping an eye on, but certainly here in the United States, we got to keep an eye on flu as well. Can't take our eye off the ball, and it's still not too late to get the flu shot, something we talk about a lot.
10-second trivia. The Comstock lode, a rich deposit of silver, was discovered in what U.S. state? Nevada, Colorado, California, or Alaska? In 1859, silver was found on Nevada property owned partly by Henry Comstock. Makes sense, it's the Silver State, and the 8 Democrats still in the U.S. presidential race were hoping to strike it rich in delegates on Saturday when the Nevada Democratic Caucus was held. The state's Republican Party is not holding a contest. Incumbent President Donald Trump is expected to receive all of Nevada's GOP delegates. But for the Democrats, CNN projects that U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont had a commanding win in the Nevada caucuses, followed by former Vice President Joe Biden in second place, and in third, Pete Buttigieg, a former mayor of South Bend, Indiana. This makes Senator Sanders the frontrunner in the Democratic nomination process and gives him more momentum going into the next vote. That's a primary scheduled for this Saturday in the state of South Carolina. It's only for Democrats. Like Nevada, South Carolina is also skipping a Republican contest. Regardless of what happens in the Palmetto State, though, several of the remaining Democratic hopefuls are already focusing on what's known as Super Tuesday, March 3rd.
So everyone knows about the Super Bowl and the Super Friends and supermarkets. And even some book nerds know about the great book Super Sad True Love Story. But do you know Super Tuesday? Do you even Super Tuesday, bro? That's what we, and by we, I mean political nerds, are calling March 3rd, the day when 14 states and American Samoa will cast their votes in the 2020 Democratic presidential race. And it's the closest thing we will have to a national primary day with states in the West, South, Midwest, Southwest, Mid-Atlantic, and yes, even New England, all voting. Here's the full list. Alabama, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, and Virginia. Boom! So, yeah, it's a lot of states, like a super lot. And it's not just the number of states that matters, it's their size too. California has the most delegates up for grabs of any state in the country with 415, and Texas is third with 228. New York is second, by the way. In fact, there will be 1,357 delegates at stake across the 14 contests on Super Tuesday. That's more than a third of all the delegates available in the entire nomination fight, and almost 70% of the 1,991 delegates a candidate would need to secure the nomination. Now, VIS, aka very important sidebar. It's very, very unlikely that any one candidate dominates the delegate hunt on Super Tuesday, and here's why. Democrats have a rule that any candidate that gets either 15% of the vote statewide or in any congressional district in the state will win at least some delegates. It's called proportional allocation. And what it means, practically speaking, is that a bunch of the leading candidates are going to secure some chunk of delegates, and none of them are going to win them all or even close to them all. And VIS, very important sidebar. Now, how did so many states wind up all voting on a single day? Good question. So the Democratic National Committee decided that 4 states, Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina, were the only states that would be allowed to hold votes in February of this year. And there's lots of reasons for that decision, but the main one is that these states have been voting first in presidential contests for a long time now, and they protect that status, New Hampshire, I'm looking at you, very, very carefully. So the DNC decree meant that the earliest date you could schedule a presidential vote if you didn't live in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, or South Carolina was Tuesday, March 3rd, which is what a whole lot of states did. Why? Well, because the earlier in the nominating calendar your state votes, the more attention, read money, it gets from candidates and the more coverage your state's race gets from the media. It's just attention dollars, folks. And the biggest mover in this calendar shakeup was California, which went from a June primary near the bitter end of the nomination fight all the way up to March 3rd. Quote, historically, we've been so late in the primary schedule that the nominees for president have been determined by the time Californians go to the polls. That's California Secretary of State Alex Padilla talking to CNN in 2018, and he went on to add this. By moving that up, we hope to have a real say in determining the nominees for president of all parties. End quote. Well, judging by the amount of attention Democratic candidates have been lavishing on California, the plan worked. Both Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg have spent time and loads of money in California over these last few months. Make no mistake, campaigns will be made and broken on Super Tuesday, which makes March 3rd super important. And that is the point.
I'm going to loosely quote Mr. Rogers to kick off today's 10 out of 10 segment. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Monrovia, California is located on the edge of Angeles National Forest, so it's not entirely unusual for residents to spot a bear. But this one meandered through the suburbs so calmly and casually that it got people buzzing and taking pictures. Eventually, wildlife officials tranquilized the 400-pound animal and relocated it. It certainly was a spectacle, if not a spectacle bear. It was a polarizing sight. Some would call it a grisly discovery, while others might give it Cody accolades for having the spirit to bear the suburbs, even if it was a bit slothful, must have gotten too much sun to bear. Seeing is bear leaving, and I'm sure folks were asking, brown bear, what do you see? Hey, we see some falcons are watching today. Hello to our friends at Coral Academy of Science. It's in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm Carl Wazus for CNN.